when you go away. So will the lump in my throat. 'Cause you have become to me a symbol for all that is wrong.
This is Ross Payton with Role Playing Public Radio. This is RPPR episode 59, Bildungsroman. And of course,
Bildungsroman?
Bildungsroman, which is a...
I'm sure there's a story behind that word.
Well, there is. It's a word that means it's about a novel of the youth to adulthood. It's a genre of literature and film of storytelling.
What the hell's up with the accent that just crept in there?
I don't know. It's very hoity-toity. It's very
and so that
high class.
So that changes your accent in mid-speech.
Yes, it does.
That must be truly a powerful force.
It is. But
what does that word possibly have to do with what we're doing?
Well, we're going to be talking about character advancement in role-playing games.
No shit.
Yeah. Okay, Tom. A little aggressive there. A little. But yeah, we're going to be talking about.
You bring it out in me, Ross.
I know. Leveling up, gaining skills, gaining experience points, that kind of thing. The kind of implications and what game designers think about it and whether their design meets the reality of role-playing games. And now we're like, what does that mean? Well, we'll get into that shortly. It's raining right now, so you might hear the rain in the background. So,
or perhaps the thunder.
The thunder.
If you notice the lightning, then you're using some kind of medium we're not aware of.
Yeah, then you have spy cameras in here, and that's just creepy.
But Ross wants you to know that what he does in his own room is not for your enjoyment.
Yes, playing killing for you. Anyways,
we'll get patting around in his socks, his filthy socks.
I live here, Tom. I can wear socks. You have sandals on. What do you have? You don't even have socks.
Oh, I've got socks, Ross. I just know better than to wear them here with all these cameras.
Oh, I see. This is taking a weird turn. Anyways, in news for RPPR, Zombies of the World is now
good God.
Available.
Yeah.
It's now available. You can now order the book, a very high-quality, glossy color book.
Yes, you will buy it at a high price.
Yes. I just put up the PDF edition, so if you don't want to get the actual luxurious physical book, you can get a PDF and at least read it.
I've touched the physical book.
PDF is only $4.99. Yes, it is a great book. We'll have it for sale at Gen Con. But if you want to learn about zombies, learn about the undead, go to zombiesoftheworld.com.
Got great artwork, great writing.
Yes, everything is great about it.
Written by a monster, but
yeah. Well, it's about monsters.
But yes, buy the book so Ross can get the money to pay me for Gen Con.
Yeah, that would be nice. Because also Ruins of Lemuria. I finished revising the text. The artwork should be done or very close to being done. So it should be out. It'll definitely be out this month. I'm not sure about the exact date, but we also have the last episode of the New World campaign, which I'll release simultaneously with the Ruins of Lemuria.
This is it, people.
Yes,
last one.
How
is this shit gonna play out?
Oh my God, it is epic. Last episode was epic. I mean the Old World Armada thing. So. Did you re-listen to it, Tom?
I did. I forgot. I did brush back and try to help people, and then lose my shit on those that were killing my own people.
Yeah, that was pretty. Very shit got real. In other words.
Yeah, shit did get real.
So,
I don't want to say anything, but I killed Laura Palmer.
Oh man, that was pretty. That was pretty badass.
Yeah, I know.
She had it coming.
Little bitch.
I know, right?
Trying to summon the Dark Lord, whatever his name was.
President. So yes, of course, Gen Con is approaching. We will have a pre-Gen Con episode.
Just a little more than a month away.
Yeah. So if you're going to Gen Con 2011, we'll be there. So we have some games.
We will party.
A seminar and a party like we're nerds in Gen Con 2011.
And hey, another member of the group will be there this time.
Yes, Caleb will be joining us. And
he will be quite busy, but
he'll be running games. We'll be running games, except for Tom. Tom's not running anything. He's just being a slacker. So
yeah, pretty much.
Anyways,
I'm going to enjoy the trip, Ross, and do what I want.
Yeah, well, that is your right, I guess. You're just disappointing the fans. It's just the fans who are losing out.
Ross, I will be there, and I will do things with the fans.
Wow.
Oh, shut up. Shut your filthy mouth.
You said it, Tom.
Yeah, and I knew what I meant. You were obviously going the other way.
I see. All right.
Filthy mind.
I know.
Filthy mind.
Anyway, so character advancement. Let's talk about that. We've been kind of wandering. I know we recently got an iTunes review that said, "Oh, we took too long doing news and announcement stuff." Well, we're sorry.
No, I'm not sorry.
Okay.
No, that's what we do, man.
Yeah, it's our format. It's our thing. Our shtick. Anyway, so character advancement. What do we mean by character advancement? Now, the thing is that, the granddaddy of our RPGs, Dungeons and Dragons, has a very good character advancement paradigm. I mean, there are many. It's not a perfect game, and no one will say that, and there are certainly many flaws to it. But one thing I think D&D gets right is that it has a beginning, a middle, and an end planned out for your character. The paradigm of D&D is that you start as a level 1 scrub, and then you work your way up to a level 20, level 30 epic badass, so it's like a Bildungsroman where you start out as a child, more or less, and become an adult at the end. And they have new monsters and new challenges for you. Everything's planned out for, there's a whole, the game supports character advancement, character growth. Now,
I would say that D&D is the only game I know of that when I start a level 1 character, the first thing I think about is where do I want to end up. That's the first thing I think.
Right.
And when I hear, even if it's level 1, all right, what prestige class do I want to get to at what level? And that's the kind of things I think about. I don't do that with any other game.
Right. I mean that's the thing about D&D is that it does this, and that's one of the reasons why it's kind of, when you think about it, very few RPGs actually have that in mind. They actually think about this. Now, you think about the second biggest RPG, which is really the World of Darkness.
True.
That whole network. And character advancement is not really built into it. Now you say, oh, well, there's experience points.
They're useless.
Well, the thing
really,
they don't. One thing they don't have you do, your character does grow, obviously you do gain experience points, and you can use those to advance your character, but there's no middle or end game involved. Your character starts out as a weakling vampire or hunter or whatever.
Werewolf or...
Yeah. And there are of course optional rules to say you can start out as a badass.
But
your character starts out...
I actually own the Elysium book.
Right. Well, that's for the old world. I mean, in the new world there are various rules for that as well. But there's no okay, when you're a mid-level vampire or equivalent, an experienced vampire, here's the kind of things you should be doing or you could be doing. And there's a big difference between should and could. But they don't really think about that, and they certainly don't think about the end game. They think about the here and the now. Your character is a monster. You do this, and that's the entire campaign.
Well, when I make a character for that, yeah. I'm not thinking of where I want to be.
Yeah.
I just don't do it. I think, what do I want to be when I start?
Right.
And pretty much anything after that is okay, well, what do I need that I've realized that I need with this character in
the next session? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it was a mistake not to put any points in dodge, so I might want to,
right,
put one in dodge.
Right. So it certainly doesn't give you that feeling of character growth. So. That's kind of the problem is, and this isn't unique to the old World of Darkness. Recently we started an Eclipse Phase campaign that Caleb is running. Eclipse Phase, for those of you who aren't familiar, is a sci-fi horror game. But your character, it's done with a point-based system. You start with 1,000 points and you spend those for skills, equipment, advantages. You gain more if you get a disadvantage, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Now. So your character starts out with 1,000 points. Now, the way your basic character gets res points to fulfill a session. Now, the way the default rule says you're supposed to get 4 to 7 character points, res points, in 3 to 6 game sessions. So being easy on the math, that's 1 point per session, more or less, and. So that's 0.1%.
And also, you don't get the points until the story's over.
Yeah, until the adventure's over. So you get 4 to 7 points every 3 to 6 sessions. So your character is does not advance. He's basically so when we're talking about this, we're going to talk about the difference between dynamic characters and static characters, player characters. Dynamic player characters are D&D characters. They grow constantly. Every session, they get new gold, they get new equipment, they get or they level up and they get huge advancements. Static characters are characters that are 20 sessions in, they're very similar to this character that started out. Now, of course, they're going to have different equipment, and they're going to learn some things, and they'll probably have some scars and stuff like that. But 20 sessions in, a D&D character is a totally different character than the one he was at level 1. His capabilities has doubled or tripled. But an Eclipse Phase character, 20 session in, is only 2% better at best than, if he gains 20 res points, than a character who is starting out. And the thing in Eclipse Phase is you also to spend points on equipment, including your character's body type. The morph, that's the thing. Your character's the gimmick of Eclipse Phase is that you can switch bodies,
and they're totally interchangeable.
Right. Well, not totally, but.
Well, you can keep on living by downloading into different bodies.
Right. But the way which is interesting, so your character is functionally immortal, but the way the game works is if you have an expensive morph that costs you 50 character points to start out with, or 100 points to start out, between 50 and 100 points character start, and you lose that morph, you're basically better off mechanically starting off as a new character than trying to keep that same character. You're basically saying, well, I'm just going to retire him and start a new character, because that new character is going to be more powerful than the guy who lost his expense, unless the game master hand waves, just gives you a new more.
Well, actually, I love the way Caleb is doing it.
Right. You want to, that's one of the solutions, is basically house rule. These kind of very slow advancement characters.
It's not so much that; it's more just how he deals with dying. That we essentially have a death fund.
Well, that's a house rule. I mean, that's not in the game. I mean, he gave
but
us...
it's definitely preferable to having to build yourself back up.
Right. I mean, it would be impossible to get, like...
In fact, that's not a lot... That's a game like... Not a lot of games I know actually have that, where you can actually, through character death, drop a lot of points.
Right. Well, I mean, character death is final, but even in the World of Darkness, if you took some sort of... depending on, a crippling injury or curse or something like that, or like, oh, you lose a point of dexterity from this, nasty thing that the supernatural creature did to you, then you're better off making a new character, because dexterity is so hard to raise. That's another thing in, the World of Darkness, is that experience points spin differently than your character starting, freebie points. Yeah. Freebie points are a lot better than experience points.
Yeah, I think it's ability, attributes. I think it's like 5 times your current.
Yeah,
ranking.
you have to multiply the current rating by a number,
and and your abilities are 3 times.
But freebie points are just an additive thing. It's like 5 points to get this, no matter what it is. So there's a lot of, depending. You could build 2 characters the same way that would have starting different equivalents of experience. So it's a very wonky game design. But anyways, so. In general, you have these games that most role-playing games, I think, assume you're going to be a static character, especially modern games. Call of Cthulhu, World of Darkness, GURPS, one-roll engine games, actually. Wild Talents, it assumes you're going to be getting 3 character points at most, per session.
Yeah.
And
of course, we have a vote that can get up to 5.
Right. Well, we've house ruled it where your characters. I was being much more generous. In fact, 3 was lucky. Like you're supposed to get 1 or 2 per session. In the one roll engine, you and your characters start out with 250 points or more. So 1 to 3 points versus 250 starting points. Plus, your characters can lose points by spending base will. Yeah. So you could lose an entire week of advancement because of having to spend a point of base will for something. So, again, characters are based. And also there are limitations on what you can spend those points on. Once you've made your character, you can't just spend them to get a new superpower. You have to justify it in the game. Also, Eclipse Phase does the same thing. Like, okay, you can spend points to raise skill, but your characters spend time training and stuff like that. So it's very... Your character, the rules discourage you from advancing your character. You are not meant to advance your character like a D&D character. They do not want you, 50 sessions in, 20 to 50 sessions in, to be a radically different character than you were at beginning. I mean, certainly better, yes, but not nowhere like D&D.
No.
Not going from, a peasant to a world-conquering badass demigod, which, of course, is part of the genre, part of the theme, but... I don't think a lot of people realize this when they start out. And I think a lot of game masters don't realize, this causes a lot of issues. I don't think people really think about it. This is why I wanted to bring it up, do an episode on this topic. because game designers have this idea that character advancement is slow and tedious, and it takes work to make a character. You have to earn your character. You start as a
because
scrub.
it means more.
Pretty much every role playing game, you start out as a weakling. Or obviously there's exalted and noblest and blah 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 blah. But even in those settings, they're much more. It's relative. You can be a badass and exalted, but there's going to be NPCs that are much more badass than you are.
Or the Dragon Ball Z game.
Right, exactly. There's always going to be somebody whose power level's over 9,000, more than you. So it's relative. And the thing is, they want you can't start out as one of those super high-end characters. You're supposed to spend, hundreds of hours of gameplay to get that way. And the thing is, I don't understand why this is, because at least now, don't they realize that I think the majority of role-playing games, this is my opinion, the majority of tabletop role-playing games that are actually played are either one-shots or very short-lived campaigns, like campaigns that are aborted, like they try to do a long campaign, but it falls apart, we've talked about that before.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. Or they just aren't meant to be super long, like 3 sessions. So every game is designed with the idea like you're not going to be super cool or super badass until you get 100 sessions in, or 50 sessions in, or 20 to 50 sessions in worth of gameplay. But how many I would imagine those types of campaigns are the minority of role-playing games. Like maybe 20% of role-playing games, or
maybe.
Yeah. I mean, we've only had one super long campaign. That was only 46 sessions, the New World campaign. That's been our longest campaign to date, and that took us over a year to do, a year and a half.
And I had my 2.5 year long Gargoyles campaign.
Right.
But the thing is, in that one, it also we rebooted it a few times.
Oh yeah, what do you mean by that?
Well, it's because at one point, I was actually doing my own house ruled version of leveling up. I gave them way more experience than the book suggested, because it's like, oh god, this is taking for fucking ever. So at some point, we actually got to the point where the characters are so powerful that, you know what, I think it's time to do a cosmic reset. And with a game like that with lots of magic, that's actually easy to do.
Right. Well, in that case, so you that's kind of a unique situation. I mean, that almost never comes up, where characters are so powerful that they,
Well, it's when the one vampire player had 4 disciplines at level 5.
Okay.
So, that's about when I started to realize.
Well, how long did that take you in real time?
It was actually a year and a half. That was the first reboot.
Okay, so a year and a half to get to the point.
The second reboot only took about 2 months. Then I realized that storyline was a turd.
Okay, so that wasn't even that wasn't because of power.
No.
That was just because of storyline.
No, the first one was because of power.
So that was the only time that happened.
Yes.
Okay. And that took you a year and a half at fast character advancement. Mm-hmm. Using a modified version of the Old World of Darkness. That's what it was based on, for those of you who didn't know. So again, there's this massive difference between what the designers think and what actually happens, on the tabletop. And there's also this idea: why can't character advancement be fast? Because if you think about it, role-playing games are mostly modeled after genre fiction, fantasy, science fiction, horror, and Bildungsroman stories are usually literary. You have there's all kinds of classics, and you will put a link to the Wikipedia. Catcher in the Rye, blah 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 blah.
Well, hell, we're Starship Troopers.
You could view that. Yeah, definitely. As a genre, Bildungsroman.
The Heinlein story, not the movie. Movie was garbage.
The movie was awesome. I don't know what you're talking about.
Giant bugs versus space.
Would you like to learn more?
No.
Yeah. Anyways, that was my favorite line from the movie. Anyways, and it's afraid. But you're talking about this. Why can't we have fast character advancement? Because in these genre fiction stories, it's very common for characters to become very powerful relatively quickly because of the demands of the story. I mean, you didn't have Luke Skywalker went from being a farm boy to being
the savior of the galaxy.
in, little. In terms of gameplay, how many sessions do you think the original trilogy was? 20 sessions, maybe 30.
Maybe 30.
Certainly not 100 sessions. I mean,
No.
For each movie would take about, you could plot it out. That would actually be kind of interesting. How much of the movie would you get in one session? And you could probably do it in 10 sessions at most. He didn't spend 50 hours worth of film time, grinding, swamp rats or shit like that, or like, let's go do
doing fetch quests.
Yeah, doing fetch quests. Like, there's an old man in the space cantina who wants to have us deliver things, and there's a space dungeon we have to go through.
I was like, that's, by the way, one of the reasons I quit playing Star Wars Galaxies.
Yeah.
Because that's
Lots
what it
of
was.
Space dungeons, yeah.
Yeah.
Of course, video games obviously have different designs because they want you to, especially MMOs, want you to sink in as much time as possible. But in tabletop games, all these games, and we can bring in more, like every point-based system, Mutants and Masterminds. I mean, how many character points is a character supposed to get in Mutants and Masterminds? Better than I do.
And the thing is...
Well, no, I was asking you, how many points do...
standard character would be 150.
Okay, and how many are they supposed to get per session?
No more than 1 or 2 tops.
Wow. So again, that's less than 1% per advancement.
Yeah. Well, then again, in that one, also power level sometimes doesn't really mean much. The right rolls and the right power combinations, and that you could take on someone twice your power and still win.
Right. And there are obviously inherent flaws in that.
But or some games I've played, actually leveling up is a pain in the ass.
Okay, yeah, there's also the rules discourage you not only by giving you few points or whatever, it takes you a long time to level up, but also the actual ways to do it. So, yeah.
Mine was Cyberpunk.
Yeah.
It's, in that one, you have to record every single time you use a skill. And it's not, Call of Cthulhu, you check off if you successfully use a skill, but that's only to know that at the end of the session, you need to roll to see if these skills raise. But in Cyberpunk, you have to mark down every time you use a skill, because that's how you raise skills. And when you first start off, it's 10. You have to. Well, you can't use some skills you can use untrained, some you can't. But it's 10 improvement points at level 1. So you only have to use it 10 times. It goes to level 2. You get up to around 7 or 8. Suddenly, you have to use this skill 80 times to bring it up again.
Right.
And there's some skills like
how many times are you going to use this skill in a session?
Like, okay, now if it's awareness notice,
yeah,
you'll use that one a lot.
Yeah.
But if it's, say, forgery,
but even the awareness notice that would be like 10 times per session tops.
Yeah, that's the one I would imagine you would use the most besides weapon skills.
Right.
But say like forgery.
Yeah.
How often are you going to use forgery? Yeah. Or how often are you going to use, or one of my favorites, how often are you going to use AV tech, which is designing AV vehicles? Seriously, you're not.
Right.
But so unless you bump those up really, really high to when you mix a character creation, if you just decide our group really needs an AV tech, well, you can do like in-game training to gain like 1 or 2 skill points. So you do that like. Well, you better try to use that as much as possible, because otherwise we're just going to suck. And
then you get into the gamer logic issue where a guy, has a hammer, that skill, and he wants to make everything looks like a nail. He's going to solve every problem with AV tech, regardless. Bad guys, well, I'll design something to blow them up. Lock, well, I'll design something to blow through the lock.
Yeah.
I'll design something to negotiate our new contract. I'll design something.
Yes, and of course your physical stats are just, you can adjust them willy-nilly with cybernetics. In fact, okay, I do have to mention this.
Yeah.
Like, the worst min-maxing episode I've ever seen in Cyberpunk, it actually was involving my friend David, but luckily he doesn't listen to the podcast. If you somehow hear this, I do apologize. I just think this was funny. He was designing a solo, which is like the big badass combat guys, but he knew he was going to be getting a full conversion cybernetic body. So when he was making his character to start, he put a 1 in the body stat. To which I said, no, absolutely not. You will not. I don't care if you're going to get a cybernetic body. You're not going to survive with a body of 1.
Interesting.
So he Like,
See, no, I would try that too. I mean, because mechanically, yeah. I mean, it just makes
but
sense.
it's one of those it's one of the few. I don't do it often. One of the times I had to no, readjust.
Nice.
I do have. I mean, I'm a pushover in some respects, but I've
Right.
got standards.
Right. So, and again, it comes also to player expectations. Now, the reason why this really is important, not only from an overall perspective, is also players, I think, pretty much always have the expectation that their characters are dynamic, that they're going to grow and become more badass or more useful or competent throughout the game. I mean, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, and
But-
I think that's normally not a mechanical thing. That's more of a role-playing thing.
Well, I mean, I think players just have the expectation characters will grow. But most games discourage that. Characters are static. You're not supposed to, they're trying to no, you can't have too many good things, You can't be too good at everything. You can't be blah, blah, blah. Which, I mean, I understand from certain game design perspectives, but I think it's the wrong way of doing it. The idea that in the world of darkness, I'm going to make this hunter, he's going to be a total badass once he becomes a veteran or whatever. But no, he's going to spend 10 sessions working
to raise one dot of firearms.
Yeah, 1 dot of firearms or 1 dot of dexterity. And then that gets crippled when the vampire, breaks both his arms or something like that. So again, the question is, when you're running a game, what do you do? And as a player, what do you do? When you're running a game, I think the most obvious solution is to house rule it. Like, that's what I've done in Wild Talents. We mentioned this a little earlier. I've sped up character advancement in one roll engine.
Well, we get a minimum of 3 points. We get a minimum of 3 points.
Yeah.
And then, other players can elect people if they want extra points.
Right, up to a cap of 5. Plus, there are willpower rewards. So that's pretty fast. And even then, characters start at 250, and they're worth 300 or so right now. Yeah, a little over 300. So that's not too bad, especially considering the Doctor Doom Superman / types are 1,000 points. So I think it's working pretty well.
And actually, some games level up on just a really bad design alone.
Yeah.
I'm going to mention Palladium now.
Okay.
Yeah,
You don't really need to, but yeah.
Well, it levels up a little quicker
Yeah.
than some games do, but leveling up's largely meaningless.
Right.
All you do is you raise your skills and your base SDC in most cases.
And your hand-to-hand combat stuff.
Yeah, it's like to your attack bonus. It's like some of your attack bonuses, which
Right.
hoopty-damn
Characters
do.
are very static in Palladium games, in other words. And that's fine because characters are so front-loaded in Palladium. Like a level 1 juicer and a level 10 juicer are still very deadly characters. I mean, regardless.
Yes, they are.
So regardless of what happens.
This one person will have a much higher basic electronics.
That's going to be the game-breaking difference. The question is, I like the viewers, what do you think the reality? I mean, do you think that this is a big issue? I think this is something very few game designers actually think about. I think every RPG, even newer ones I read, they still have this idea that character growth is very slow and you should work towards it, and that you shouldn't gain too much in one session. D&D, I really think, kind of got it right. I mean, because they really do have that Bildungsroman character arc. Because I mean, there's two types of character growth, of course. There's the mechanical growth, which is what we're talking about.
Stats, skills,
powers, etc. But there's also role-playing growth, and which is your character's personal plot, your character's story, like in the New World campaign.
I mean, I've known some GMs that just pretty much ignore that.
Right.
They, it's you're not here to grow as characters.
Right.
It's like you're here to go through my brilliantly planned dungeon, and
right. And that can be kind of character growth too, to say, oh, I finished the quest, I found the Holy Grail or whatever.
But I think our group particularly, we really much prefer the character growth.
Well, they have both. Well,
but we really love the character growth.
Right. I mean, in the New World campaign, you had, Locke, Cody's character having, very good arc of starting out as a human wizard, then going into a lich, and then, finding out what he would be willing to sacrifice for his to achieve his goals. And
I think I was kind of a really naive good guy,
right,
starting out,
and he became a little more realistic. Still, having issues about that, and then what price is your morality and that kind of thing. So,
or hell, like Jason's stuff.
Right, yeah, becoming the leader of his people and everything.
Yeah.
So, pulling a whole Braveheart with that sort of.
And thank God it ended perfectly well with no problems.
Yes, well, we don't want to spoil it, because
all I'm going to say is everyone lives and everyone goes on in their peaceful lives.
Yes, and they all go on to college and become the best fraternity ever.
It's like Revenge of the Nerds, but we're actually cool to begin with.
Yeah, exactly. Dungeons and Dragons, the college humor movie. Wow, that would be.
Yeah, but actually, there's one game I was playing in Old World of Darkness where the GM handled the character growth pretty well.
Yeah,
because you knew you didn't level up quickly.
Right.
So he broke the game up into parts.
Okay.
And one point that was a vampire game. So actually, the first line we were actually embraced in the game.
Okay.
And then we did some stuff, actually got introduced to the world. Then he stopped and then skipped ahead a year. And actually instead just gave us, all right, you can put a point into to a stat of your choice. You can have you can get 4, ability points, put them wherever you want. And that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And then suddenly now we were, still young but established vampires in the city. And then we did once again did some more things. We're a little more power. We got a little trusted with a little more intrigue and power with the established vampires. And then the last one is he skips ahead. This time it was 10 years he skipped ahead, and once again gave us a lot more stuff. And now suddenly we were actually movers and shakers.
See, that's a very good solution, and that's one that's out of the rules. That's house ruling,
Mm-hmm.
but it's also campaign structuring by showing character
Heroic,
Right.
Paragon, and Epic.
Right. But also by you also emphasize that the vampire thing with being immortals. You're still always looking the same no matter how old you are, and so on and so forth. So that's a great solution. That's a great. But the question is, why can't games have that kind of support built in? Why can't they support fast character growth? Why is that such a taboo in our role-playing games? I mean, I know there are some out there. Are obviously a lot of indie ones that are character growth is much, faster. And I'm sure people will probably, the blah, blah, blah,
Well, so you mentioned like literary stories of character growth.
Yeah.
I think most people run games like a movie.
Right.
And there's
even in a movie, there's character growth.
But it has to be hurried up.
Well, that's just it. That's the opposite of what role-playing games do. I mean, in Braveheart, you go from, Mel Gibson's just, another minor noble to leader of a massive rebellion to martyr for his cause. And that's in the space of, 2 hours or so.
3 hours.
3 hours. Yeah.
Braveheart was 3 hours.
I'm sorry. It's been a while. So that would be 3 sessions, 5 sessions. Depending on how many battles you wanted to do.
Well, there's two major battles.
Well, I mean, if you want to do off-screen battles and
fine.
Yeah. And how long each battle took. I mean, we could be a multi-session battle, but there's certainly no more than 7 or 10 sessions. So like he went from being level 1 to level at least 10, in D&D terms, to being a pretty competent character, and so you would need much faster character growth. And let's talk like a lot of characters don't grow at all, though. A lot of characters in TV shows are extremely static. The characters in Law and Order and CSI shows, they're basically the same week in, week out.
Well, over a series of like 3 seasons, they'll change a little bit.
A little bit, but it's very interesting to think about what characters grow and what characters don't in fiction. What you would prefer is what are your habits? You have ones in those procedural shows. They change very little. You have characters like in Fringe. Characters in Fringe change a lot. Lost, they change. They change. Good guys become bad guys become good guys. What are some of your favorite shows? So, sitcoms, obviously, they're very static.
Well, yeah. Of course, okay.
Doctor Who is
Farscape.
Okay, Farscape. I'm actually don't know.
Babylon 5 back in the day.
What are they? I don't know.
Well, of course, you had in Babylon 5, first there was a captain before. Then when the new one came in,
right,
he was just it's like I'm the new officer here. I'm a different guy. I'm different than the first guy.
Yeah.
And by the end of the story, he had declared the station was independent of the human government,
right,
and was his own separate nation essentially.
Okay.
And he pretty much became a kind of a leader of a big alliance of different races just outside standard governments.
Okay, so a lot dynamic, in other words. What about Farscape? Were they dynamic as well?
Well, it's when main character John Crichton first showed up. He's just he's
fish out of water. Yeah,
he's a brilliant astronaut, but he's also totally new in this. By the end of it, he's in possession of the greatest weapon that galaxy's ever seen.
Okay, so dynamic character growth. So he went from being level 1 to level 20, basically. so in a sci-fi RPG, he wouldn't. I mean, how many sessions would that be? I mean, obviously, I don't know how many seasons.
It went on for
50, yeah, that was a long campaign. In other words, so.
Yeah, but I couldn't tell you exactly.
Doctor Who would be an interesting challenge to say if he's static or dynamic or a little bit of each. Because the regenerations and all that, I'm sure the fans will want to talk about that. But I mean, there are a lot of shows obviously that are very static.
Yeah. Now MacGyver didn't change at all.
Right, MacGyver didn't change at all. The A-Team didn't change at all. And I mean, that's not to say that you can't have complex characters that don't change. I mean, there's a lot of great mystery movies, or a lot of great movies and stories that I'm sure that I'm leaving out, where the character starts out pretty much the same as he ends up. It just kind of depends on the circumstances, and then you can tell a great story with each one.
The Matrix was ultra fast advancement
in mechanical growth, but would the character? Well, yeah. I mean, Neo did, but did the other characters?
Not at all.
Yeah, they were very static. So,
and pretty much, by the way, I do admit, whenever the first moment I saw Cypher, that guy's going to betray the group. The very first time he showed up on screen, I just knew it.
I see.
And I saw Mouse. That one, he's going to die.
Yeah.
Or these others we barely talked to.
Yeah,
they're all dead.
What I would do, the thing is, so the whole point of this discussion is, of course, to make you think about character advancement in role-playing games, because I don't think that's, outside of D&D, I don't think that's actually thought of, at least in terms of long campaign. When you're thinking of a campaign, you don't know, of course, how many sessions is going to go because of reality and people dropping in, dropping out. Mm-hmm. You decide the campaign sucks, the story doesn't work, blah, 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 blah. So, but you I think games are better when there's an end game in sight, when you actually have an ending in mind. I mean, we talk about, again, bringing up Lost again, a lot of people complain that Lost, they didn't know what the fuck they were doing, and that's you can argue it either way, but if you have a definite insight in mind, I think it helps, and at least in terms of character growth, I think it helps too. So, when you're running a game, think about this, and think about what kind of house rules you can do to advance character growth. If you want that. Now, if you want static characters, then you can use the rules as is, but then that kind of limits what you can do in terms of.
And maybe your players may not want that.
But on the other hand, you might want to, because it can be a problem, as we brought up. Your game that had to be rebooted because characters got too powerful. So I mean, there is a flip side.
I essentially gave an ending.
Right.
One, I kind of just all right. I'm gonna just quickly get that ending out there.
Right.
And but that one, I didn't quite have an endpoint in that one until I realized, wow, I really need to end it.
Right. So
no, I totally agree with there needs to be an ending in sight.
Right. Now, as a player, you should think about your character's own advance. Obviously, in D&D, you have all this in mind, but in other games, you should think about it as well, and talk to your game master and find out what your thoughts are. Because if you want a dynamic character, be like, I'm going to start as this plucky kid, and he has this terrible secret he's trying to uncover. There's this terrible...
His father's missing.
Yeah, his father's missing or something like that. And you want to make sure you find your father before the end of the campaign. You talk to your GM, make sure that this is something that is going to happen. Because otherwise, you'll just be like, oh my God, why did I play 20 sessions of this crap?
Some of my character stuff in Wild Talents, I think everyone in that game kind of has something of their own.
Right. No, I've worked a lot, and it took me a lot of effort to put it in there, and it's paying off, obviously. So
yeah, actually, and there's I've had some people have told me they've complained about D&D that you advance a lot as mechanically, but there's almost no character advancement. It says actually there very much can be. I think a lot of GMs just miss out on it.
Right. No, I think
first of all, okay, say you're now level 10, very few people actually meant, I'm much more powerful. Very few GMs, that I used to know, deal with the new responsibilities you have.
Right. You're a big badass. Everyone's going to be looking at you to solve problems and stuff like that.
Or if you're a horrible villain.
Or hey, what's the Western motif? Oh, you're the fastest gunslinger. Everyone's going to be calling you out to take you down so they can make a name for themselves.
And the thing is, one person might roll really lucky.
Yeah, exactly. So that's true. And this is the thing about Dungeons & Dragons, talking about systems discouraging or encouraging various things. In D&D, it sort of discourages that kind of serious role playing. I mean, they talk about that, but it's very much the bulk of the material is about dungeon crawling and combat, and that's fine. It's just you have to sort of think around the rules.
Well, especially if that's not what your players want. I mean, hell, we've had people comment about us when combat starts.
Yeah.
Sometimes we're like, oh, for God's sake, all right, let's get through this. We can get back to what we want.
Well, you guys just don't like tactical combat. I love tactical combat, so.
But you still deal with it.
Yeah, no, I love doing tactical combat. I always enjoyed the D&D fights. Of course, I was a dungeon master, so I had a lot more pieces on the board that I could move around. I didn't have to wait 10 minutes for anything. So I don't know. Combat's fun for a GM. I don't know about as a player.
Well, it depends on the game too.
Yeah.
Some of the cyberpunk combat, I just started going like, I don't even fucking know anymore.
Yeah, we need to do that again. So there's that, and of course, finally, I would just say, if you're a game designer, think about character advancement in your games, because it just from the amount of rules that I've seen, even in new games like Eclipse Phase or in the New World of Darkness, there's just like, there's 50 pages on hacking and character and mind hacks
and describing the world.
Yeah, the world, and then there's literally like 1 page about character advancement in the game, like 1 or 2 pages worth.
There's 1 or 2 pages and a chart.
Yeah, and a chart, and that's it. And so you don't really think about that. So I don't know. It's something to think about. And just keep in mind, because it can be house rule, but that's unofficial. Oh, we frown on house ruling here in RPPR.
Except we don't.
Yeah, we don't.
In fact, I think we pretty well house rule every game we do at some point.
Yeah, we do, but we still discourage it. It's wrong.
So have we
it's
lost
bad,
our?
wrong.
So have we lost our gaming credentials now?
It's the wrong way to have fun. Don't you know that, Tom? There's only an official way to have fun.
Son of a bitch!
I know.
That's it. I'm turning in my gaming card. We're done.
Oh.
We're done.
Yes. All right. So I think that kind of sums her up.
Except I had enough points to buy another card.
Oh snap! You advance your character.
I
That's
did.
Character growth. That was pretty awesome.
Pretty hardcore, huh?
I know. Anyways, so next up, Tom did not write a letter, but instead
I was out of town all weekend.
Yeah. Save it for the judge.
There's no judge, Ross.
There's the judge. You turn in your gaming card. You have to.
I got a new one.
I know, but you still have to have a hearing.
No, I don't. There's nowhere in the rules.
Yeah. Well, no. All right.
Are you house ruling this?
Yeah.
You
snap.
bitch.
We don't have a letter, but we do have.
We have something almost just as good.
A listener recommended we read RPG.net review Fatal from Darren.
And actually,
Sarton.
For some of you gamers out there, you
it.
just heard this. You just heard a ominous sound in the background when we mentioned that game.
Yeah, so we're going to be reading an excerpt from it. We're not going to read the whole thing because it's like 20,000 words, but we'll read.
It's
an
a short
excerpt
story.
So, and then of course we have shout outs and anecdote from Riff's character generation.
Oh, it's such a naughty caprice.
Yes. All right, we'll be right back.
In 1993, The X-Files graced our screens and became one of the most popular science fiction television spectacles of all time. Now, in 2010, DeadLantern.com brings you a podcast dedicated to all things X-Files. Join Explodey Joe and crew as they discuss the 9-year-long series with maturity,
blah, 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 blah,
professionalism,
well, we do have a trifecta of shit episodes coming up.
intelligence,
I have absolutely no fucking clue what you're talking about.
and dedication.
You ready for Ghost in the Machine?
The Explodey Files, an X-Files podcast now in its 2nd season. Visit us at deadlantern.com or find us on iTunes by searching for the Dead Lantern Podcast Network.
Explodey Files Season 2 coming at you over the podcast.
There is no God, and the proof of this can be found in a PDF file from Fatal Games. If this is the first time you've ever heard of Fatal, you're in for a fun ride. Well, let me rephrase. You're in for a fun ride if you consider a fun ride to be, say, hitting your nutsack with a tack hammer for about 4 hours.
The nutsack tack hammer thing won't be a fun ride, but it is preferable to actually playing Fatal. Oh hi, I'm Jason Sarton. You may remember me from such classic RPG.net moments as the longest fucking Censar review ever, and all those humanity-hating and go-kill-yourself already posts I leave on Tangency. I'll be helping Darren a lot with this review, because friends don't let friends review Fatal alone. Also, this is obviously going to be one of those grandstanding spectacle reviews that tries to be crowd-pleasing. Those of you who hate that kind of review should do the honorable thing and whine your asses off in the forum below.
This was written, incidentally, back in the days close to the Wild West, so please take it with a grain of salt, a big grain. Like the kind they strap to the sides of mules so they can get it out of the salt mine. You think I'm joking. You think that I'm exaggerating for comic effect. But you'll be holding your head with agreement and also holding your swollen, bruised nutsack if you happen to open the fatal PDF up and give it anything but the most cursory of read-throughs.
He's not joking, people, and I wasn't either. Those of you wondering what the most ass-tasty RPG of all time would look... Ass-tastic, I'm sorry.
Yes.
RPG of all time would look like, the one whose suck factor will forever demolish all challengers and tower over the ages with all the majesty of a homeless, mindless, drool, shit-obsessed, impotent moron standing on a mountain of used Dragon Ball Z condoms can finally die in peace. The arguments are over. Anyone who says anything else is the worst RPG ever... says is the worst RPG ever will... Well, I'll inject kerosene into my bladder, piss on them, and then set them on fire. This game sucks that much. God fucking damn it, we're hardly 4 words into the review, and already the game has dragged me down to its level.
So, why is it so bad? Because it's the Necronomicon of role-playing games. Not in the cool way where it's a source of occult knowledge with a terrible, terrible price. It's the Necronomicon in the sense that if you leave a printed copy on your shelf with other RPGs, the other RPGs will be clustered around the dead, violated body of one of its own in the morning. The copy of Fatal will most likely be down at the station in the sex crimes interrogation room, trying its best to put on an innocent face and failing miserably.
Another useful comparison is that Fatal is basically anti-thought. As you can already see, it reacts violently with real sentience.
Now, we like Cinnabar. Go figure. See, Cinnabar was bad, but you have to like Cinnabar after you've read Fatal. Yes, it's a terrible role-playing game in just about every respect, but it's got heart. It's like a punch-drunk, half-blind boxer who hasn't realized that his manager is now arranging fights by pushing him in front of a speeding Mack truck and ringing a bell. He's going to get a license plate number embossed into his skull, but he's still out there, still trying. You do the best you can, and that's good enough. Raven, C.S. McCracken, although he's made the occasional mishap, also seems like a very decent guy, just a tad misguided when it comes to writing games. There's an innocence to Cinnabar, a lack of subterfuge that makes it fun to think about, if not to read. If nothing else, it's the only game I've seen so far that has a midnight sunstone bazooka in it. It's a bad game, but it's a bad game based on misguided enthusiasm rather than bitter misogyny.
Yeah, I like how World of Cinnabar is uniquely deranged. The first time I read through it, I knew I would never see anything else quite like it. Like only McCracken could have made a game that's fucked up the way Cinnabar is fucked up. It's the Plan 9 from outer space of RPGs. It almost defies belief in how insane it gets, but the wrongness has this charming quality to it, and I can't help but liking it nowadays. I've actually gotten more entertainment out of it than most of the good games I own, and I don't regret buying it. So in a bizarre way, McCracken actually succeeded. That may sound like I'm damning Cinnabar with faint praise, but compared to even that, Fatal doesn't have anything going for it. It's the shitty game to end all shitty games, and it could have been written by any 14-year-old with an obsession with rape and defecation, no design skill, a wearer's copy of Photoshop, and months of lifeless weekends to work on it. Seriously, if Brian Hall and McCracken got into an RPG design fight, McCracken would reduce Hall to sucking his wang so fast every streetwalker in Las Vegas would be taking notes. And imagine an image we'll all take to our graves.
Fatal is a product so twisted, so fundamentally broken in its attitude towards sexuality, so unbelievably stupid, that you think the authors are trying to make themselves look like they're prime candidates for institutionalization. They're not, and which makes it even scarier.
By the way, you'll notice lots and lots of these personal attacks on the creator and players of this game as this drags on. While this is bad form in normal reviews, it's hard to avoid here. For one, it's impossible for a game designer we shouldn't insult to create a game this goddamn stupid. For another, Hall and his drooling fanboys went out of their way to honor RPGNet's forums with their personal shot at the world record for number of flame threads started before one's daily basement Necronomicon, Walden Books version, reading. And I think they won it too. For those who weren't there, the flame wars weren't very interesting. It was all simply another chapter in the long-ass book of moron game designers who have created the best game ever. except that in this chapter, the obligatory AD&D clone featured vagina circumference stats and rape rolls, and the moron game designer's followers had all the class and brain activity of a scrotum lint. Oh, they want to be all evil and shocking and crap. God, how pathetically they tried. I mean, imagine opening a door to find your mother and sister raping each other with pink strap-ons, and you then realize that you've never seen their bare asses before, because you're pretty sure you would have remembered the swastikas tattooed there. Upon noticing you, they grin wickedly and give you the finger in unison. It's shocking in a way that instantly blights out all rational thought, but later you'll have to admit the finger and wicked grinning part was kind of cool, I guess. That's the feeling the fatal morons so wish they could provoke. Instead, they're more like opening that door to find your week's unwashed otaku brother in his soiled underwear, masturbating furiously to, of all the goddamn things in the world, an Archie comic. And on his bare ass is a tattoo of inexplicably someone else's ass, and he's disgustingly fat enough for it to be a good 14 inches across. And as he goes at it, he's quietly moaning to himself about how worthless women, fags, and niggers are, and how they should all be raped or murdered. It's still disturbing on all kinds of levels, but it's the kind of stupid disturbing that ends with you having to answer questions to the satisfaction of a prosecuting attorney. Point is, the Fatalites have repeatedly proven that treating them with any respect or dignity is pointless, so we're not going to waste your time or hours with that effort. Back in their raving lunatic days, I had thought that Raven C.S. McCracken and the Cenzar guys needed to take a big step back and calm down, but Byron Hall and his fellow lobotomy candidates make them look like Rebecca Borgstrom on a Prozac bender. But don't worry, none of this will be a problem, because even if you can't ignore the misogynistic, homophobic, racist, and all-around idiotic mindset of its core supporters, Fatal blows goads with such panache that it's hard to imagine anyone looking at it and not concluding that Hall should have given up the needle.
By the way, you may notice that I write the authors of this game rather than author. There's a reason for this. While the game lists only a single author, there are many signs that lead me to believe Ye Old Abomination has more than one author, although uncredited. You'll find an explanation later, but I just wanted to get that out of the way. That being said, what we say about Hall applies equally to each and every person who had a hand in this shit pile.
Meanwhile, you'll notice I've simply gone with acting like there's one author. What can I say? It's easier when there's only one legendary industry boob for the next 10 years to blame, and the thought that another human being actually said to him, "Hey, Fatal sounds really cool, let me contribute to it," is too depressing to contemplate.
Well, let's just see what it looks like underneath this arc. Oh my God, sweet Jesus, no! Let's start with the title page. Yeah, it's that bad.
Oh yeah! Fantasy adventure to adult lechery is crappy. You can see the asses of little engraved figures font, right inside a border made up entirely of random garbage characters. Incidentally, at some point after the original version of this review, the name was changed from Another Time, Another Land. Great, huh? Of all Fatal's endless faults, they choose to fix the title.
While we're on it, if you can cue up Optimistic by Radiohead, you have a good idea of how the both of us feel right now. For those of you who do not have that song, it is very good, and also a song about how everything has gone wrong. Fatal also claims to be the most difficult, detailed, realistic, and historically/mythically accurate role-playing game available. This is the most damnable lie I have ever seen in my history as an RPG reviewer. In no sense is that statement true. As a matter of fact, in every sense of the word, that statement is so false as to provide the golden means for statements of falsehood. Fatal is difficult only in the sense that peeling your face off a strip at a time is difficult. Detailed only in the respect that gives the creators an erection. Jesus, I can't even go into it. Historically/mythically accurate only in the sense that the creators occupied the same physical world that these myths originated upon, and about as accurate as banging your ass on the keyboard to write the Gettysburg Address.
Darren is correct, but it should be noted that this is actually a good title page, as it subtly hints at much, though by no means all, of what sucks about this game. Adult lechery. Perhaps it's nitpicking to point out the redundancy. Ooh, what's next? A fantasy game of violent combat? The sci-fi game of starfaring space travel? The White Wolf game of, fuck it, just give me the cool powers already. But it's a good indicator of the level of thought that went into the whole game. And of course, it reminds you that this won't be just another Tolkien clone RPG, but a raping and shitting Tolkien clone RPG. Difficult? Oh yeah. Anyone with a force of will to endure reading all 900 plus pages of this homesick abortion of a game without going insane and making sacrifices to sweet Azathoth for a merciful annihilation of the universe is no one to be fucked with. And anyone who could do that and actually play its anal retentive trip to hell of a rules system without succumbing to Hall's probable compulsion to inhale Drano by the ass loads would have to be some kind of demigod. And yes, it's saying difficult like it's a good thing. But hey, ain't that always the eternal struggle of gaming? Playing a difficult game and get massive headaches because it's needlessly complicated, and PC killing because I accidentally dropped my rusty dagger and impaled my favorite intestinal tract, versus go with something that won't make me roll 5 times on the random shit discoloration table every time I cast my light in my finger, thus spend more time actually doing things. Realistic and historic / mythically accurate? Oh, I bet. Player 1, Roxor. This is the best system for emulating the myths of Heracles I've ever seen. And it's fucking sweet how all the gods, monsters, and heroes can't do anything that wouldn't be possible in real life.
Player 2, hell yeah! When I tried to get past Cerebus, he wasn't any tougher than a pit bull, with 2 extra rubber heads, and later when I was masturbating on the temple altar, and I angered the gods, they didn't do anything but just not appear. Dude, you can't handle the realism.
Player 1, woot! If this were any more realistic, you'd be able to taste the penis length.
Player 2, testify! Lots of people in history had penises, so it's ultra realistic and historically accurate to put in rules about that.
Player 1, man, I could cream myself just thinking about this. I can't wait to see if it has rules for hut building, grass growing, nose picking, and the spread of Christianity, since people experienced those during history too. So yeah. Okay, I gave these subtitles more attention than it deserved. Let's just say that if Hall set out to write one fucking line that instantly screams that the ensuing RPG will be very nearly as cool as getting diagnosed with cancer and necrotizing fasciitis bacteria on the same day, he succeeded brilliantly.
And for the fun part, the Fatal Game logo is where the dice never lie. I would suggest that the owners of Fatal Games must have dice that come up, this game sucks, Beavis, no matter how many times they are thrown, or we must chalk this up as yet another falsehood.
Yeah, I really like that logo too. It was nice of the Fatalites to point out that when you play games from other companies, your dice may lie to you. Ha! I knew it! All those times I was playing D&D or Cenzar, and that D20 would show a 3 or some shit when I knew I rolled a 20. Thanks, Fatal, for showing me the way. No, wait, this game still proves that once and for all that Darwin was an ass-grabbing fool.
So
that's all we're going to read.
For now, that's all
now.
we can handle. We'll be right back.
And I failed again. I guess that we were destined to be just friends. And it's not your fault that I feel this way, but I wish that I could make you see what all of your broken promises, what they have done to me.
And we're back after recovering some sand points from drugs
and killing a deep one.
Yeah, we had one chained up just for this, so we knew we had to because
we knew we were doing this.
Yeah. Anyways,
we did it for you, listeners.
Yeah. So let us know if you want us to keep reading from that review, because it's a fucking long review. But one of the reason I was alerted to it, a listener emailed in and said, "Hey, when I read this review, I read it in your voice and Tom's voice. Isn't that weird? I think it would be hilarious if you did that." And I'm like, thanks, listener. Thanks.
I'm really not sure we have very distinctive voices. Do you?
I think we do. My voice is great, and your voice is just
mine's more powerful.
Like metal on chalkboard, being scraped across. So
I don't think you think that, Ross.
I know I think that. I think. anyways, so shout outs. So Tom,
I'll go first.
yeah,
Actually, I might as well just do two of them right back to back. They are movies. They are like Korean movies that Ross turned me on to the first one.
Yeah.
It's Attack the Gas Station 1 and its sequel, Attack the Gas Station 2.
right.
And I think we might have mentioned this once or twice.
It's been a long. I mean, we saw it like when it first came out, which is
2001.
yeah, and I got a pirated DVD, but bootleg.
And it's essentially four
Back in the days before BitTorrent.
It's like four thugs take over they go rob a gas station, tear it up, and then the next day, out of boredom, they decide to rob it again. Only this time there's no money at the gas station, so they decide to take the staff hostage and run the gas station themselves, keeping the money. And they just keep pissing people off.
Yeah, it's good times. It's a great movie. So the sequel came out last year, and we haven't got it yet. We haven't watched it.
I got it in.
Right, you haven't
And
watched it yet.
I have seen it.
Oh,
Yeah.
you didn't wait for the rest of us.
No.
Oh, well,
I had to see it, Ross. I couldn't wait.
thanks, Tom.
But I'm not going to say anything about it.
Okay, good. Don't just let
Well, I will
us borrow
say
it.
it's
We'll kick
it's,
you out.
Of course, it's not as good as the first one.
Well, you're saying things about it right now.
I said this before. That's what every review on the internet has said, Ross.
Well, I haven't read those reviews.
Well, you suck.
Yeah.
But no, they're two great movies. If you can get them, definitely check them out.
Yeah. I'll actually mention another Korean movie that I just saw called The Man from Nowhere. It's a little like a Korean version of Taken, where there's a incredibly badass guy with a mysterious past who decides to rescue a young girl who's been kidnapped by criminals, and it's incredibly violent. There's some really well choreographed fight scenes, and yeah.
Delightful.
Don't fuck with a pawn shop owner. You don't know what his past is.
You don't
like.
even know.
You don't. Like, so yeah, good stuff. It's available for streaming, I think, on Netflix. I got a DVD of it. Yeah, so it's good.
Good times.
Yeah. Then next up we have there's a show you.
Yes, I'm pretty sure most of you heard about it, but I just recently checked it out.
Yeah.
Ugly Americans.
Yeah, I've seen ads for it on Comedy Central.
The animation's really it's a little simplistic.
Right.
Actually, not nearly as simplistic as some of the other stuff that's come out.
Better than South Park.
Well, animation-wise, but of course, I think it helped that the very first episode I saw it was involving werewolves. So.
Oh well.
But I've since checked it out recently, and it's really good.
Cool.
Really funny. I like it.
Cool.
Especially just the casualness that there's horrific violence going on.
Nice.
I really like that.
Perfect violence is funny, except in Fatal.
Well,
Nothing's funny about
no.
it.
Now we're gonna have to go kill a rat thing. Good job.
Anyways, I'm going to mention the Steam Summer Sale is going on. Summer Sale. For some of those of you who don't know and aren't PC gamers, Steam has a sale going on from now until July 10th, where they have ridiculous prices and daily deals on all kinds of games.
You think they have brain damage?
Oh my god! They have games for like $2. I picked up Plants vs Zombies yesterday for $3. $3. In other games, like Just Cause 2 for $5. So, like, if you have a PC or a Mac and would like to game very, very cheap
now
prices,
is the time.
Now is the time. And you can also, there's an event going on. You do certain achievements in games, you get a ticket. For every 3 tickets, you can redeem them to get a prize. I've done a few of them. I'm going to try and do a few more of them. So, yeah, do that.
Nice.
Yeah. And then finally, The Eliminators, last movie.
Oh, God.
We are going to, which will prep us for our anecdote, because you see, The Eliminators is a
1986
action film about a mandroid and his friends who go fight a time-traveling evil scientist.
Or as the description I gave to other people and to my writer friend on fanfic.net, it is a mandroid, a female scientist, a river rat, a ninja, and a tiny teleporting robot go to stop a time-traveling scientist who wants to go back in time and take over ancient Rome. That's the plot.
It is gamer logic, the movie. Because literally, if that doesn't sound like a group of player characters, and an RPG session, what does? So
Yeah, it does.
Inspired by this, we're gonna do a one shot of
and
riffs.
his army of thugs in flannel shirts
Yeah.
with shotguns
Although they do have a triple scoped rifle that does mega damage.
because it's triple scoped.
Yes, and it hurt the mandroid. The mandroid is obviously an MDC creature. So
Well, yes.
So, it is an incredible movie. It must be seen to be believed. So, yeah.
And we need the mobile unit, Ross.
So, because of this, because we've seen this, and it was such an amazing film, I've decided to run a Riffs one shot. Of course, because it's Riffs, we have to do character generation first. Everybody had to make a character based on.
And there were 5 players.
Yeah, so that took the last session, and so Tom, why don't you tell us for the anecdote, talk a little about the reactions the players had to Riffs.
First, let me say that I got my character done really quick because
Right.
I've actually done this before. And I will say this: Palladium will go faster if you're dealing with players that have all played it before.
Yeah.
But when all but one have never played it, it turns into a clusterfuck very quickly. But yeah, so a character creation started. I mean, simply just rolling up the stats.
Yeah.
When apparently we informed them that for the most part, having low stats is meaningless.
Yeah. In the new version of Rifts, though, there are penalties for it, but I didn't read those rules because I'm not going to play the Rifts the new Rifts. I'm going to play the Rifts of my early years. So,
Yeah, so that was all rolled out, and apparently there's in the new rules, there's now some penalties for IQ, I think.
Yeah.
But if you have one stat under 7 or whatever, you get to add shit to other stats.
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck does that mean?
It's to balance things out because Rifts is a balanced system. It's a thinking man's game, Tom.
Yeah. So then, of course, Ross wanted me to bring all the books I own, which was over 25 at least.
Right.
I thought if I bring that many books with that many choices...
No, I just want honestly, I wanted just to intimidate the players. I wanted them to see that and be like, "What the fuck, Ross?"
But I didn't.
But I got that anyways. I remember Caleb in particular. He was very anguished.
No. He was actually angry.
Yeah.
No, it went beyond that. He was like, the thing is, it wasn't even a joke. After eventually, it's just like, I don't want to fucking do this.
Why does climbing have 2 percentages?
No, it's 3.
No, there's 2.
There's 3.
No, there's climbing and then rappelling.
There's 3 numbers.
For what?
I don't know what the other one is. I just know there's 3
no.
numbers.
I looked at it, Tom. It has climbing and then rappelling.
But but he lost his mind when he realized it was easier. The skill points for climbing up is much easier than climbing
10%
than rappelling down.
Right.
And this was easily a 3 to 4 minute just rant.
No, it wasn't 3 to 4 minutes. He was just like, "God damn it, Ross! So if I fail rappelling, do I fall up? Yeah. Do I move up?"
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
And then Thad was making a ninja juicer from Riffs Japan.
Because there's 5 ninja classes, and ninja juicer is the most overpowered one.
So that's what he took,
Well, that's what I recommended.
and he took it.
Yeah.
I was playing I'm playing the Mandroid
Yeah.
cyborg with a hat and a poncho.
Yes, that's right. You are.
Yes, Ross.
Yes.
And I didn't have the book for Aaron to make a tiny robot.
Right.
So Ross is saying those characters or characters from other things that would be fun to add to this.
The guy from Deadly Prey. No, but no. Didn't Aaron make his character over the weekend?
No, he didn't.
Okay. Well,
but
we
he's
still have plenty of time.
Yes, but I believe he's going to do Bulldog.
No, I think he is going to do the robot. I mean, we have time in between sessions. So, anyways, we recorded that. I'll put that before we actually do the actual play because also they had to roll for random psychic power.
But it was basically 4 players just saying like, what does this mean? That's stupid.
Yeah, it was fun. So I can't wait to play. I can't wait to run it.
And Kevin Simbieta, since I know you listen to our podcast,
Like everyone,
Yeah, this is what we mean when people say your system's out of date.
Yeah. They don't like making characters in it.
Seriously, your settings are great, but your system's terrible.
Your settings are ridiculous.
But they're fun, at least.
Yeah.
You've achieved that much, but you just need a better system. Just a better system. I bet you can get back in the game.
Yeah.
But it will never happen.
No,
it won't.
Yeah. Anyways,
So in fact, I even wrote a letter saying how I was done with riffs.
Right,
But
right.
Here I am again, like an abused spouse, coming right back to it.
yeah, we're one more time in the saddle,
Oh god.
cyber saddle.
By the way, I also love how the new Ultimate Riffs Ultimate Edition now has a section of cowboy skills.
Right, that they took from New West. But scientists, cyberdocs can't have cowboy skills.
No, because they can't be cowboys.
Right, exactly. That doesn't make sense.
Don't let your baby grow up to be cowboys.
Exactly. So yeah, this has been episode RPPR, episode 59, Bildungsroman. So
Bildungsroman.
yes, I'm Ross Payton. This is Dom Jerson.
Occasionally I can say my name when we.
Fine, say your name.
I'm Tom Church. I don't even want to do it now.
Aw. All right, well, we'll see you guys next time.
And when you go away, so will the lump in my throat. 'Cause you have become to me a symbol for all that is wrong. And you're so beautiful that I feel that I can never match up. And this is my cowardly way of letting you know, telling you when it's too late. I search in my mind, but I can't seem to find the words to let you know what you mean to me. I tried and I failed, I tried and I failed again. I guess that we were destined to be just friends. And it's not your fault that I feel this way, but I wish that I could make you see what all of your broken promises, what they have done to me. And all of the times I looked in your eyes and drowned in a sea of your smile. And through all of this change, it feels so strange, learning to live without you. I search in my mind, but I can't seem to find the words to let you know what you mean to me. I tried and I failed, I tried and I failed again. I guess that we were destined to be just friends. I guess that we are just friends.